Hello everybody, Bruce here with a Module 3 video on how you will be downloading and submitting your assignments for the rest of the quarter. We are going to be using GitHub, Git, and Visual Studio Code. The Git part is going to kind of be a little bit behind the scenes, but let's step through it. I know I threw some terms out there, but let me go through the process of what you're going to need to do. Now, the first thing is you need to have installed the Git software, which I believe I had you do in Module 2 or Module 1. I forgot. I also had you sign up for a GitHub account. You're going to need that. So let's get started. I'm in Windows. The process is going to be virtually identical for those of you who are on Apple Macintoshes. But let's get started. I'm going to go into Chrome to launch, there it is right there, to launch Canvas. And I'm just going to go Clark College, get into Instructure, or whatever it is, Canvas. So I'm in Canvas. Well, I'm about to get into Canvas. I'm going to click into our course. And what I'm going to do is, and by the way, pause the video anytime you need to catch up. All right, so there's little audio and video controls inside of YouTube for you to do that. But I think you all know that, okay? So I'm going to go down to Module 3. And in Module 3, if you go to the assignments, let's go to problem set number 3. And problem set number 3 gives you a whole bunch of instructions here on what you need to do. You don't need to create any new files. You don't need to create zip files or anything. What we're going to be doing is the following. Number one, there's a link in each of the assignments. There's 2 problem sets for Module 3. And what you're going to do is you're going to carefully read everything and maybe read it 2 or 3 times, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this link right here. And this takes you to something called, believe it or not, GitHub Classroom. And when I clicked on that link, it brought me to a screen. And I believe, since I've run through this one time already, there was a button that you'll see when you click on that link to accept the assignment. So pretend that there was another step that I had in here that said accept this assignment. And those instructions are right in here, okay? It tells you right down here, accept this assignment button, etc. All right? So what happened just now is a set of code based off of my starter code, the code that I prepared for this assignment, has been made available to you as a student inside of what we call GitHub. And GitHub is owned by Microsoft. If you go to github.com, what you've done already, you signed up for an account. It's a place where developers of all kinds, languages, etc., share their code. And what we now have here is GitHub Classroom saying, hey Bruce, I've prepared your assignment. And here it is right here. We're not going to click on this link here. We're not going to click where the mouse cursor, the hand, is moving back and forth. But we're going to right click and we're going to copy the link. Copy link address. Copy link address. So I clicked on that and now it's in my clipboard. So I'm going to minimize my browser because we're done with GitHub and things like that for now. And I'm going to launch Visual Studio Code. Double click. I'm going to make it larger as soon as it's done loading. Doop-a-doo, doop. Okay, there it is. I'm going to double click on this bar up there to make it full screen. So there's Visual Studio Code. You know Visual Studio Code. You've been using it, right? So now what I need to do is bring up something called the command palette. And again, this is all documented on the assignment page. I'm just providing this video to show you through it. So what you want to do is Control-Shift-P or Command-Shift-P for the Macintosh. And what you want to do is type in git clone. You can see it's in the menus there. Now, yeah, there you go. So git clone. So I am going to click on the blue, maybe different color on your screen, git clone. And now it says, hey, what is the URL for that repository, or a repo as we call it in the programming jargon? And we're going to paste in the address, the URL of that repository. Now, one thing I want you to make sure of is that you don't have a space at the beginning of that URL. Okay? So once you're done, you got that URL in there, hit the Enter key. And now it says, hey, Bruce, hey, student, where do you want to place this assignment code? A lot of you place it on your desktop, so I'll place it there. Nothing you need to do right now. Just don't change anything here. Just click on select repository location. And now you're getting this login box here. See this for GitHub? Because GitHub needs to verify who you are. So I'm going to type in, I think this is my username and password. And I'm going to click on login. Okay. Now, the lower right here, you can see something's going on. Hopefully I did it right. Up here it says username. Okay. Sorry about that. It says username. So I'm going to type in Belgort /Clark. This is going to be the username that you signed up for GitHub with, I believe, in week 1 or week 2. I forgot. I think it was week 1. So I'm going to hit Enter. And now it says password. I know it's asking you for this stuff a couple of times. And now it says login failed. So I did something wrong. Okay, so let me try this again. I'm going to go through this process one more time because you may go through the same process as well. Okay, here we go. Control-Shift-P, git clone. I'm going to paste in the URL to the repository. I'm going to say I want it on my desktop. I'm going to click Select Repository. And now I get my login box. I think it's just this. No, I'm doing something wrong. So let's try this again. Belgort-Clark. Hey, I got it right. It was just a password thing, all right? So that's why it was prompting me up there. So you got to get those usernames and passwords right. And I'm glad that I was doing it wrong because you're going to do it wrong too, probably. All right, so look down to the lower right-hand corner. There was a message down there. Did you see it? So let me pop it back up. It says, would you like to open the cloned repository? And you want to click on Open. Okay, Open. And what happens now, I'm going to close this VS Code welcome window, is you can see here in the sidebar that there are 4 files. Okay, there are 4 files. In fact, if you click on the readme.md, MD stands for Markdown. And I'm not going to be teaching you much about Markdown, but it's a really great way. Actually, it is the way that developers like you, me, and others create documentation that goes onto GitHub without having to write any HTML. So if you read through the instructions here, it says Module 3, Problem Set 3, and that hash sign is a Markdown heading, believe it or not. It says this repository contains all the files you need to complete Problem Set 3. The instructions for each problem can be found in each of the Python files. Okay. The repository contains 4 files, and I give you just the names of the files there. This is actually more Markdown. And if you want to read this file right here without having to see all this quote-unquote Markdown characters, you bring up the command palette, Control-Shift-P or Command-Shift-P, and you type in Markdown preview, open preview. It's the 3rd item down. And what it does is it shows you a beautiful, non-markdown version of the document. Okay, so that's what it would look like if you were looking at it, say, on GitHub. All right, so again, let me just go over that one more time. Control-Shift-P to bring up the command palette, and Markdown Open Preview. You can see it's the first one here. I highly recommend that you take notes and not try to memorize all these things. All right. All right. So here is the grading rubric. There's 3 problems. Each one is worth 33.4 points. For full marks, partial marks, and no marks, you have these values, these grades here. Now what you need to do is, number 1, don't go into Windows Explorer or the Macintosh Finder and mess with this folder, because it has a lot of special code in there to do some things. So I don't want you to go into Explorer or Finder and mess with these files. I gave them to you exactly the way that you need to work with them. So I clicked into the first problem here, and here you can see on line 6, right, there's a bunch of instructions. And I actually want you to go in and fix my code right here because it contains some errors. And same thing with problem 2. I want you to follow the instructions, okay, and fix anything that you need to. Again, read the instructions. Now, this is all well and good. I think you're all like seeing what's going on here, but let me show you one thing. Pretend that you're working on this file, and I'm just going to go in here and say, obviously there's a quote wrong here. See, I'm going to go here and I'm going to make this one a single quote. And now I saved it. I hit Control S or Command S on a Mac, and look over here on the left-hand side. Do you see that thing that says 1? That means that there is one thing that's changed, right, in your local cloned repository of the assignment. Okay, so check this out. In the sidebar here, it says 1M. That means one modification. One modification. So for grins, for kicks, I'm just going to go in here and just add some stuff here. Testing 1, 2, 3. I'm going to hit Control S or Command S on a Mac. Whoops, to save. And notice now it says what? Two changes, and we have this modified, right? Actually, 3 changes here because I entered 3. I entered a couple carriage returns, and I'll do the same for this file. I'll just do that, and I'll hit Control S, and now you can see all 3 files have changed, and that's good because what Git is doing here, this is Git working within Visual Studio Code, is Git is knowing that you made changes and it's tracking those changes, okay? Now, again, you may want to stop the video right now and rewind everything I did because this is some pretty complex stuff, right? So now it gets a little interesting because pretend you're done. Pretend you fixed all of my errors in the code. That's great. Congratulations. So what you need to do now is move to this tuning fork thing, this version control icon in the left sidebar, and click on it. And now you'll see that there are 3 files that the source control, Git, right, knows that changed, right? So what you can do is if you hover your mouse over the word changes, you can see this plus sign here. And what you want to do is click on that plus sign. Watch this. And now it says all of the changes that you made have been staged. Okay, staged. That's a term for the GitHub workflow. And I don't want to bog you down with all things Git and GitHub. I want you to be able to clone your assignments down, make the changes to those assignments, stage your changes, which I just did, right? And anytime you make additional changes to a file, like I have these files staged here, but if I go back and said, ooh, I made a mistake, I'll just add a couple more carriage returns there and hit Control S. If I go back to this version control thing, you can see that it knows that I made additional changes, and I need to either click on the plus sign here or if I hover over here, click on the plus sign, and it moves it to this stage changes area. Now, you're ready to push your code back up to GitHub. And just so you know, going forward, Module 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you will not have to submit these assignments in Canvas. I will take your GitHub code, clone it down to my computer, and review it. Okay? So what I need to do now is I need to put a message in this box. Ready for grading by Bruce. And what I do now is I click on the checkbox. Check this out. Check. And it says, make sure you configure your username and email in Git. Welcome. So this, again, stop the video. You're going to need to write some stuff down. So once you do this once, you'll be cool. All right. So I'm going to open up the Git log. And it says down here that I need to enter these two commands. Okay. So actually that's wrong. There's something right, where are you? Right here. I need to enter in these two commands right here that are highlighted inside of the terminal. Okay, inside of the terminal. So let's take this one step at a time. I'm going to highlight this by holding my mouse and clicking and dragging. I'm going to right click and copy, and then I'm going to click on terminal. It's the same for both Macintosh and PC. And what I'm going to do here is I hit a couple enters, and I'm going to paste in. I hit paste or right click paste, and it says git config user email, your email address. So what I'm going to do here, this is the email address that you registered for GitHub with. I know that you logged in earlier, so belgord@clark.edu. You need to put in the email address that you signed up for GitHub for, the one you entered earlier in that dialog, and hit enter. Good. See what happened there? And then I'm going to go to the output and get this other command, this git command. Okay, git command. And by the way, just if you run into problems, let me know. And we'll have a Zoom meeting. We'll get it fixed. Right click. Actually, look at that. I just right clicked and it stuck it right in there. And my name, right? This is my name, which is Bruce Elgort. There it is. I'll hit enter. Boom. Done. So now we can close this window. Okay. And I'll go back and click on this checkbox. And now it accepted my commit. Okay. My commit. Okay, more on this stuff as we go through the course. So now nothing's gone to GitHub yet, believe it or not. We just told our local source control provider, which is Git, that we made some changes and we've created a commit, like a point in time commit of our work. So now what you need to do is you need to go to this ellipses here, upper left, click on it and say push, push. And what that's going to do is and notice this line going back and forth here. That's going to send your work back up to GitHub for me to grade. And that's it. Okay? If you got any error messages, you want to let me know on Slack. But that's the workflow. You clone the assignment down, you work on the assignment, you stage your changes, you perform a commit, and then you push. All right, I know a lot of stuff here. I'm available on, let's see, this week for this class on Wednesday and Thursday nights for Zoom meetings at 8 p.m. If you want to have a Zoom meeting, a one-off one, just let me know on Slack. I'll fire it up and we'll go through this. I will be sending out this video in the, what do you call it, an announcement that I'll do once it's up on YouTube. And for those of you who watch it, let me know with the passcode of coffee cup, and I'll note some extra credit for you. Again, the code word for this video is coffee cup. Thanks for watching. Reach out. I'm here to help you succeed. And that's it. And I say a lot, right? Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. Have a great day, everybody. Welcome to Module 3.